Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we have Shael Kerbel. Shael is a CPA, CA Senior Manager at FP&A Oliver Bonacini Hospitality, one of Canada's leading fine dining restaurant and catering groups, where he's putting AI to work on financial functions, building automated tools that turns raw POS data, GL details, and planning models into decisions the business can actually act on. Before landing hospitality in a bit, I'm really excited to actually hear about hospitality, data, finance, AI within that space. But he actually spent roughly a decade across M&A and corporate development, PwC, Intact Financial, and Echelon Wealth Partner. Working on deals, diligence has taught him that finance is less about the data themselves and more about the story they're trying to tell. I'm personally really excited for this one. Known Shea for a long time. I think one of the things that we're going to have today as we go through this is there's a big kind of focus between both of us in terms of personal growth, kind of living life on that YOLO scale, maximizing our career growth, but also on the personal side as well. Shea, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and excited to kind of get started?
Yeah, for sure. Charlie, thanks for having me. Like we talked about, this is kind of something different, something new for me. So I'm really excited to be here and discuss, what we've been talking about for so long, how to just of course there's the hospitality, there's the AI angle, but just that personal growth and just how to be a better person and be more comfortable in front of others. That's been a journey that I've been pursuing as well, and I know you have too. So appreciate that.
I think I'm going to come back to that immediately. It's something that was really difficult to overcome, and I'm trying to basically help others, other mentees that we have as well. But we always like to start this podcast just kind of with some high energy, some fun stuff, rapid fire questions. I'm going to start with that, and then we'll come back to that that focus on growth, especially on the personnel kind of human side as well. So first question: prosecco or champagne?
Can I say beer?
Okay, what type
It's
of beer?
sparkling too, right?
Yes, what type of beer? Dark, Yale.
Yeah, it depends on the season. Dark in the winter, sours in the summer, But yeah, not really a prosecco or champagne kind of guy.
Nice. I'm personally a fan of all stouts. I was actually in
Yes,
Ireland last year. It's good. Guinness is good
that's the
from
place to be if you
from
want stout, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Second one, brownie or cheesecake?
it's got to be cheesecake.
Michelin star or Google 5 star?
Depends who's paying.
That is a good one. Straight up coming from someone in finance. Exactly. Folks, the reason why we're asking all this is because Shale is working in kind of in the food and restaurant industry. So that's why there's a lot of kind of ties and jokes and humor and language back to food as well. I know you recently had a trip. You were in Alberta, so I think this is a great question. Sure, mountain,
Definitely mountains. Yeah.
audiobook or podcast or
Uh,
neither?
Depends on where I am. And both, I'd say, when I usually listen to an audiobook to fall asleep to, but if I'm on, the TTC, public transport, I'm usually listening to an audio podcast.
Something about podcast that I think it's the style of it just makes you a lot more focused. When I have to do long drives, it's or flights, this is podcast is the one. What's your favorite AI tool? So this is a good one. So everyone's talking about AI. Last time we spoke, actually, that was kind of the focus point of the conversation as well.
Yeah, I mean now it's got to be Claude. Um, you know, Opus 4.7. But I mean, there's a bunch of others out there. I use all of them. Like I don't. That's the one that I'll default to most of the time, because in our line of work, I find that it's the most capable. But today I was when I was creating the headshot for this podcast, I tried a bunch of different AIs and turned out ChatGPT gave the best one. So there you go.
Really, not Nano Banana.
Yeah. No, I tried, I don't know, I just Googled like AI headshot generator, and ChatGPT was by far the only one that preserved my actual face. I felt all the other ones kind of distorted it, made me look really fat or something. So,
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm excited to actually see it. I didn't actually see that photo. I'm gonna check it out afterwards. I
oh,
remember.
really? Yeah, you'll like it.
I'm excited to see it. I remember when I first tried them. This was a year ago. What I found is it doesn't work with glasses. Maybe things are better now. I
Okay.
tried Nano Banana, I think 2 months ago. it doesn't. I don't know if it's the training data or maybe I'm speaking out of my ass, but at least when I tried it, it's just the angles or the reflection with just glasses. It doesn't work out well.
I mean, maybe glasses are the new hands. I don't know. So,
Oh yes, I
yeah,
remember that. I remember I made a video. I made a video of Eugene, and it came out with like seven fingers.
yeah, it's gotten better with that. I don't know. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with the glasses issue.
But speaking about kind of workflow, right? So you mentioned it sounds like you're primarily working on kind of the big ones, so GPT, Claude, Gemini. Are there any other kind of point AI solutions that you're focusing on as well, or these are the main ones that you're playing with?
Those are the main ones right now. I am like, I've looked into N8N. That's not specifically AI, but there AI can play into that. So I've looked into that, but I think, I mean, for me, I still consider myself when I look on LinkedIn, I see all these people that talk about AI, and I feel like I'm a total beginner. But then when I talk to other people, they make me feel like they treat me like I'm an expert. And I'm like, really? I don't know that much. And they're like, well, you know a hell of a lot more than me. So yeah, when LinkedIn is your main source of other information, it just kind of makes you feel like an idiot. Yeah, I don't even know all the other tools out there. I know there's a ton of them. I read if you've never heard of it, the Rundown. It's an AI newsletter every morning, so I read that. So it kind of keeps me in the know a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, I'm just doing Claude. I'm using Claude and Perplexity because Perplexity has access to different models and it's cheap, and then that just gives if I need something else, it'll tell me.
Excited to actually learn about this. I was literally asking the question earlier this week with my team. What is the difference between kind of your main models? So we recently made a switch from GPT to Claude, just jumping on the hype train like everyone else. And I think there's a clear difference in terms of what I'm seeing
Yeah.
as well. There are use cases for both, but I was asking the team like, what is the point, or what is I personally don't know the difference of. Let me ask you this: Why do you ask? Why do you use a tool like Perplexity, or there's some other ones like Madness? I think that's another one, and then there's also
Don't know that one.
um, this is a fair one. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I will. But how do you explain to the audience, especially the folks that's a little bit newer to AI, what is the difference between Perplexity and Claude and GPT and some of these main models?
Well, I mean, I think the way Perplexity frames itself is that it's a really good tool for doing deep research. To be completely honest with you, I've found that it doesn't do any better at deep research than, an Opus, kind of model. So, but I also have been using, I know that Claude now has a Chrome plugin, and I'm sure Gemini has is like Chrome enabled, or is Gemini enabled. But I've been using the what's it called now? The Perplexity browser, and that's
Do you have a
been really
Mac?
cool because no, it's on Windows.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, Comet, that's what it's called. So I've been using the Comet browser, and it has AI built into it. It was like the first one. That's why I've kind of been using it because like I said, now Claude has it. I'm assuming Google has it. But it was like the first one, and I've used it to do some cool things, build Google Maps like for my trip to Calgary, and then for my upcoming trip, I'm going this summer to the UK. So I've got it to kind of build like an actual Google Maps, not just like give me, some points on a map, but it says, from A to B, go here, from B to C, go here. On this day, you're doing this. So it's kind of got like the whole details. It's kind of a cool use case for it.
That's fascinating. I have used different main models, the major models, to build a itinerary or a plan for a trip. Sometimes do research on where to stay. I found them to be a-okay. They're a good starting point, but I'm often back in the browser myself to kind of polish it up. Would you say that this is a little bit different, where it's actually you're getting a pretty decent kind of outcome without much involvement from you?
Well, that's the thing is like you can say, you can open up a new, if it's something specific you want to look into that it's not looking into already. I mean, you could say go to Reddit and look at Reddit, or you can open up a specific Reddit tab and be like, look through this, and and it'll scour that page for whatever you're looking at too. And I've had it, like where it will go and find exact. So, you can ask AI for comparing pricing on things. If you're looking for a new toilet or whatever, right? Like you can easily, you can easily go into AI and ask it, but like this will actually go to the Home Depot website, go to the Amazon website and like look for each one rather than, and
Fascinating. So
it can,
comment can
yeah,
actually go shop for you. It will actually go to those.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting. I've tested kind of some of the search or research tools. I found issues with certain kind of pricing or shopping, so I gotta test this out myself.
Listen, it's nowhere perfect.
Yeah.
It's slow. So like one thing I had it try to do is because I've used Perplexity for a while now, I have a million different, you have all the conversations, the threads on the side. So I said, go into my threads and organize them by category. And it just, it would do like five. And then you've got so many different threads going on, it'll take me a long time. I just say, keep going, don't stop till you're done. It'll do like 10 more and then do the same thing. So, it's not without its share problems.
I see. I guess where it's any sense in terms of we're using a browser, we're actually mimicking kind of human clicks on the PC. It's still quite slow. I'm fascinated to actually see. I mean, Claw at this point is kind of old news. I love to
Mhm.
see actually how much better those things are. But I haven't gotten that far in my own AI journey as well. But switching kind of conversation from kind of that personal usage and test. You mentioned that you are starting to test it at work. It's been I think 2 months since we spoke about this, where you're trying to build kind of integration. You talked about and building different I think dashboards you mentioned as well with Claude. How has that been?
So I can't remember. So that we have some dashboards that we built kind of in Power BI, kind of old school at this point, I guess, dashboards. I'm trying to combine. We've got our right now we're using Vena for our, finance data, budgeting, that kind of thing. But what I really want to do is combine our finance data with our POS data with our Dayforce or like HRMS data, and then eventually bring in stuff from like OpenTable and Google and all that, and just combine everything in one, make it into kind of one mega tool for operations. It's something that I'm working at on a very high level right now. So I think that for me, the biggest thing is not conceptualizing the idea, not coming up with what I want it to be, but just turning it into a reality. I think is going to be challenging, challenge that I'm excited for. But that's kind of the most exciting thing that I'm working on right now. So um,
What was the I love the vision. You're basically combining financial data, operational data, ledger data, these things so that you can go from just financial analysis, actually get a lot more deep insights out of it. I think a lot of us kind of that's the holy grail. We're trying these, but what kind of
yeah,
success have you had, and what kind of learnings you've had? Because I'm excited to kind of share mine as well. I recently got into it. I probably have spent the last 4 Sundays doing nothing but just Claude.
yeah.
I do want to hear kind of your experience so far.
So I do have kind of, call it an alpha. I wouldn't say it's a beta yet, of a tool that I designed that kind of helps to build the sales pipeline for of our events driven business. So we do a lot of catering as well. And if there are big events coming to town, we want to be able to get ahead of that rather than just like wait for them to come to us. So just understanding what kind of events are, in the pipeline. And so I built like, it's kind of like a one click, like it just refreshes all the events that are coming within the next well, next like year basically. And it searches LinkedIn for key contacts and the websites for key contacts, and then it gives you angles on where you can approach, how to approach these. Like if you're chasing after the main venue for the conference, say, or if you just want to get a smaller PDR, so private dining for maybe the executives or something like that. So, FIFA coming up to Toronto, so there's a lot of like private dining, corporate dining options that we could try to aim for there, right? That kind of thing.
Fascinating. I'm very interested. I think this is a good point, kind of to talk about, to dig into this and dig into Oliver Bonacini. Sorry, I should know
Bonacini.
this. Bonacini as well. So you're actually doing this in terms of sales forecasting, and trying to not just analyze kind of past performance, but actually building almost like a revenue or sales strategy this year based off the events that you have coming. Just so that I think the audience to understand this, maybe introduce them a little bit beyond what I just said. They're big kind of Toronto kind of catering and restaurant business. And then I think the other things I actually have a disconnect is when you have these events, it sounds like there's actually a BD function where you go try to secure these potential hosting and catering for them. Um, I think if you shine a little bit on light, that'd be able to help me as well as the audience as well.
Yeah, sure. So Oliver and Bonacini or O&B. So
Yeah.
we have a number of restaurants across Toronto. If you've been in Toronto, like there's been an Oliver and Bonacini cafe in Toronto for a long time. It's not there anymore, the one at Yonge and Front. There still is one up at Blue Mountain, but the major like all of our other restaurants have their own name, their own concept. We've got French, we've got steak, we've got British, uh, Latin food. So it kind of spans like all over. And then we've also got the Concord Group, a Concord Entertainment Group based out in Calgary, where they've got a number of concepts as well. So, we've got over 40 restaurants between the two of them. But then on top of that, there's the events and catering business, which is particularly big in Toronto. It's still growing out in Calgary, but where we have venues, so we have some venues that are owned by O&B, like big massive like conference centers, or where you might have a wedding or something like that, and then there's other like strategic partnerships that we'll have with other venues where they're dedicated caterer. you know, and within all the restaurants, there's that PDR space, the private dining space, that is basically like another revenue stream. People aren't just coming into the restaurant wanting to sit in the private dining room. I mean, it happens, but rarely. Usually they'll book that space. Sometimes they have, AV setups and all that kind of stuff if it's corporate meetings, that kind of thing. So slideshows for weddings, all that stuff. So it's not just, restaurants is a big part of the business, but it's
Yeah.
certainly not all of
I mean, they're beautiful. We've had a few events at O&B restaurants. They're amazing. It's highly recommended. The food's phenomenal. Talk to me in terms of how BD and thinking about sales for kind of the catering function. Transparently, I have very little experience with seeing how that works. How does that look like, and how do you work with them? Because right now it sounds like you're kind of actually doing research with the events, kind of these correlated activities with seasonality, things like that, and then actually applying information so that the team can proactively go and develop and basically do BD.
So honestly, I'm still learning myself. Like I'm kind of building this tool right now. Just I had a meeting with like the CEO like last week, just a quick meeting where I proposed to him the idea of, working on some AI tools, and he brought up an idea, building the sales pipeline for the events business and the catering business. And I should also mention, I didn't really mention before, but catering also involves in-office catering. So if you've got your Googles, your big tech companies, your big finance, that kind of thing, that where if they have a lunch program or an executive lunch program, that kind of thing, we'll do catering for that as well.
What
So
is the so just because again, just dumb questions like at this point, like would you go out to them and try to network and be like, hey, if you're trying to host events, like we can work with you. What does that actually look like? Is there a sales team? Is there a BD function? Is it largely
so
relational, marketing driven?
So we do have a sales team. A lot of, I think what we're, again, this is, I still have more to learn. I've been deep into finance for the past couple of years, so learning to more about how we, grow business um, and grow that top line is still kind of new to me. But I know we have a sales team. I think a lot of what they do is kind of inbound sales, that people will call in saying they want to, book an event, book a function, they'll handle that. But I think what we want to do is grow that outbound sales pipeline more. So where we're able to find whatever it is, potential events, potential businesses where we can provide executive catering, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you so much. And I think you kind of connecting the dots for them, how to tie kind of the events, the activities. Maybe I don't know if you're using some sort of CRM to connect that data together and it surfaces it up. I find a lot of people they actually have okay systems, but they don't talk to each other. It's the joining of the data and then surfacing it up
Right.
that a lot of folks don't do. The lack of reporting and analysis, or even the lack of analysis, actually comes from the lack of reporting, which comes from the lack of surfacing that data up.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, just being able to connect everything and listen, I'm not going to say that everything's perfect now. It's still definitely a work in progress, but it's a lot more realistic to envision it now than it would have been even, a year ago, say, right? Like, and especially compared to like 3 years ago, where it just like it wasn't even consideration.
What did you, as you got through this journey, I think you've been testing for and tinkering for some time now. What is the biggest hurdle? Let's just take this one project because it's quite concrete. What do you think is the biggest hurdle to actually operationalize this?
Depends what you mean by that. Like, you mean
Meaning,
the so I guess there's a couple of hurdles. There's
yeah.
the technical hurdle where I can get it built, but right now it's built for me, working for me, getting it to work, consistently and, without an issue for other people. That'll be the next step, right? So there's the technical hurdle, but then there's also the adoption hurdle, which I think with a tool like this, I don't think it will be that much of an issue because the way I'm building it is so simple and you can iterate on it so quickly. Like and if there is an issue, with coding is not an issue anymore, right? Like it's really turning that coded artifact or whatever you built within Claude, turning that into reality is the harder part. But building the features into it, that's not an issue. It's just then. So for me, the biggest hurdle is just going to make it production ready. That's going to be the hardest part.
So if I'm hearing it's production ready and then some of it around adoption as well. The production ready, I want to dig into that as well because I've had my face of I faced a number of challenges as well. I remember when I started building this a couple weeks ago, I was like, this is magic. I can build these dashboards with a click. I could literally snap of my finger and I can start seeing it. And what I found was like over time, it requires a lot of maintenance. And I found that
Yeah,
I could pass the same skill to other folks and they get different results because
yeah.
just wasn't that granular and concrete enough in terms of the prompt or at least it's the way I was thinking about it. What do you think the strategy looks like in terms of building, because the data flow, prompts around it, the ages around it, and then making sure that the calculations, the data is accurate so that when people start using it, they can trust it?
So you hit a bunch of things there. The first thing I'll answer, well, actually, I'll the last thing I'll answer is how can you trust the data? Um, that's huge. And I think once you think you're production ready, that's where you really got to test the data. Even I found while I'm building this, this sales outreach tool, it will compile data. Like it told me the president of um, I can't remember what it was. Say FIFA in
Yeah.
Toronto was, this person. But then, I just ran the prompt again and it was like, actually, I found it's not this person anymore. This person, left this post 2 years ago and now it's this person. Like it is tough to 100% trust the data, and then especially when it comes to numbers it's even harder when it kind of sits in a black box. So I think when it comes to, I guess, when it's something that you like, finance or something like that, I think you need to know that the numbers live in a source that you can always go back to. So if I'm building something, a dashboard, whatever, that was AI enabled, I would need to know where it got this data from, and if I wanted to drill into that number, at least in the beginning. And then when you pressure test it over, months and months, and there's no issues, then you feel good about it, hopefully. But yeah, I think, for me, I'm a finance guy. I need to kind of know the truth. And like, even though, FP&A is a lot of kind of made up numbers, so to speak, but but the accounting side of me, I am a CPA, and like those numbers need to be solid, right? So that part of it is still in my brain where I want to know where that data is coming from and know that it's accurate.
Oh, question, Shale, here is What I'm finding is that AI, it's a lot of vibes, right? It's vibe coding. And what at least my experience is you can take the same prompt, take the same skill, the same agent, but the outcome, like you said, changes if you just rerun it again. That example that you had with the president, I'm seeing that. So where I found is even though the prompts or the intelligence that you've built up works, to have it repeatedly work is a lot harder than I
Yeah.
thought it would be. So now to you, where being an accountant, CPA, and finance, where data is important, how do you think you'll set this up? Even if you don't have it today, where do you think kind of your strategies are to get to a place where the infrastructure that you're setting up can repeatedly and consistently give you trustworthy output calculation data?
Right. Okay. So I guess there's two kinds of data, or in my view, there's probably more, but there's the numbers based data, financial mostly, but also operational stuff that's numbers based. And then there's the I don't know what to call it, the words, basically the text based data,
You know what they're
right?
called now? There's a brand new data type called blobs.
Okay.
That's
So is that what
literally
that is?
That's it's so it's a data type now. It could be anything. It's basically just anything. It could be text, transcripts, video, text. If you think about a
Okay.
SQL table, you can actually have a field that's just blobs, or inside of it, it just holds stuff.
Okay. So
Yeah.
blobs then,
Yes.
and then there's the number side. And the number side, I think you're gonna always want to run that. Like you don't want the LLM doing the calculations on that. You want it to, use Python or use some kind of tool, usually Python, but could be something else that's repeatable and consistent, and it's going to return the right data. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, you're going to want to make sure that it's using some kind of I don't know what the word is, but just like using like a
Concrete
coding
code.
tool in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like code in the background where it's codified and it's not going to change. And then but it's the text-based data when you're finding the president of FIFA or whatever, right? Like that's the stuff that, I mean, prompting and training your AI as best as you can is important. It's still not perfect, but it certainly helps.
I'm sharing similar sentiment as well, where initially I built these dashboards where the AI which was generating the math, and I noticed every day, at least the first couple of days, I was like, I'm constantly fixing the math. Because
Yeah.
again, based off of, I guess how much power I was getting, the intelligence changes and the logic was changing. At least the first 2 days I was testing this, and that's where I concluded there are hard math logics and there is vibes and blobs and things like that. And my conclusion is the kind of similar to what you had as well, where certain quantitative math logic, things like that, they're not meant like AI can do it, but you can't operationalize it. You need to use AI to turn into the Python codes that you're talking about, or the
Right.
Excel
Exactly.
calculations, or whatever the DAX for PPI, whatever language you're using AI to
Yeah.
write that. But then that is not an LM output. It's not prompts. It's actually hard code. So the logic and everything's consistent. But then on the other side, the magical, wonderful kind of summarization analysis, kind of those things, those will continue to be vibes, prompts where it's okay if there's a margin of, at least I think, a margin of difference day to day.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean the time that you're saving by using it has already made up for it. I mean, it might be a little embarrassing if you reach out to the wrong person and try to sell them something that they have nothing to do with, but so I still think there's still got to be a human element, even still, to point you to a person and then for you to validate that is still a time saver compared to finding that person, filling out all their information on your own. So if it happens to be wrong, then you can say, hey, this was wrong. Here's the actual person. And then I can find the information on that person to reach out to, or this event or whatever. Right. But it's still a time saver, even when it's wrong.
Oh, for sure. I mean, making mistakes and is part of growth in your day to day as well. I think one thing it does is it allows you to make mistakes faster, which
Yeah.
can be
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
dangerous, but if done well, you can fail fast and then you can evolve or re-strategize or redesign whatever you're trying to do much faster. So I think that's one thing that's quite unique about it. Talking about kind of AI and all this stuff as well. I mean, clearly this fascination and deep interest and a lot of hard work that's going into this. But I know one of the things that really bonded us was kind of that focus on growing and facing at uncomfortable aspects of life as well. And I know for a
Being
fact this is
human.
a common being human. I know this is a common thing as well
Yeah.
because I hear it all the time. It's a big aspect we're trying to push here as well. MCC, both the company and making sense with Charlie. What triggered all that drive you had?
It's a good question. And really, it was just because I knew I had to. If I want to advance, I mean, yes, in my career, but it wasn't really about just advancing my career. It was just, personal growth. Like I've always been an introvert and, I don't love starting up new conversations and I find small talk can be awkward sometimes. So
Dude, I'm proud
just,
of you being here with me.
yeah, listen, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? Like anything, but especially with just, being a sociable person.
But you mentioned that you had to. I think a lot of us change is really difficult. It's really uncomfortable. At your point of career, you've done quite well, right? And then was there kind of a trigger where you're like, I need to change? You were talking to me, even doing kind of, I think, stand up, things like that. I know it's terrifying. Like I had anxiety. I don't think it's even public speaking. I remember I was like, this is not when I was young. I was like 20, just to stand up in a room of an office with 6, 7 people. I
Yeah.
was shaking. Right, like it's so hard, right? And I have kind of my reasons that push me to switch. But was there any sort of trigger, or did you just realize like I want to change and I really want it badly, and I have to do it?
I think it was more of the latter. It was just like I've been who I am for so long, and not that I'm unhappy with who I am,
Yeah.
but and I will also give a shout out to, so as we've discussed, I'm a CPA. So I did a program called the CPA Ontario Innovation Leadership Accelerator. That's indirectly how I ended up meeting you, just because through
Yes, I
there I
remember that.
heard of this event, right?
Yeah.
So through that, and even that for me was like, do I even really want to do this thing? I'm long done with school, with education. This wasn't like a scholar education. This was like very hands-on, completely different. But for that, I mean, the biggest thing for me was just realizing how important, again, not necessarily for your career, just for your life, just to have a network of people that you can go to if you have problems, if you have issues. Yes, of course, I have my family, and I'm blessed to have, a lot of family that is all local. And so there's a lot of people that I can go to if I'm having personal problems. But if I have professional problems, they have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, right? So just building that network. Yeah, there's past colleagues and stuff like that, but I know people that are kind of at my level, have similar interests. So that was a big eye opener for me, and that kind of is what got this, the ball rolling with all this.
It's not easy, and I think you have to get uncomfortable to get to learn and grow on it as well. You mentioned earlier it's really just I think you said the getting used to it or desensitized. I don't know if you said desensitized, but I often think about that. It's like a lot of it is I just need to get more of it. Like there's
Yeah,
I think I forgot what it's called, but like let's say you're comfortable with something. It's about taking baby steps. They talk about this in Atomic Habits, like 1% at a time, right? And then you get there by just focusing on the improvement or the change or the experience. And then as you do more of it, at some point, like it just becomes like this is normal. Like you're okay with it.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly.
Did you have any tip that helped you during all this?
I mean, if you can find something, for me, it was the ILA program. Even that, like for me, it wasn't. I decided I wanted to do this, and therefore I'm going to join the program. It was I joined the program just kind of out of curiosity, and then that's what really sparked me to like, wow, I really need to do more of this. So
Finding these kind of programs or events where
yeah,
you were going.
finding something, finding people that you have stuff in common with, finding people um, that have similar interests, and it doesn't have to be this, right? Like if you like, if you want to get in shape more, you go join a running group, or those are big these days, right? Go work out, meet people at the gym, that kind of thing. Like, but don't be a creep, like, some people can be, but be friendly, be hospitable, and And yeah, and you'll just see it kind of opens doors that you never knew were there.
I think that's really helpful for the audience. I also think there is a decent amount of these support circles or groups around now, right? If you want something and it's uncomfortable, people want to help. I generally believe people want to help. They want to be good. They want to help, and it's as awkward as it is. I think sometimes the simplest way just go like, "Hey, I want to do this. Not comfortable. Looking to get the support and guidance here." And then people genuinely, they're not gonna make fun of you. This is not like kindergarten or elementary school. Kids are mean.
Yeah.
Kids are mean, but adults generally, I think, are helpful and they want to help. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I think this is kind of a good point to kind of close it off today. I'm excited to kind of have you back another time. This was a lot of fun, even though you mentioned this kind of a unique experience for you. I think this was you've done phenomenal as well. We do like to always end it with kind of a clear that 2 cent advice that we like to ask our audience. So Shael, before we end this episode, what is your 2 cent advice for the audience?
So it's funny because I knew you were going to ask that, but I've been thinking about it as we're going, and it's been changing as we've been going along. So my 2 cents is really broken up into two different cents. So the first one is, be vulnerable and just talk to people, open doors for yourself, even if it's uncomfortable. And the second one is you know, train your AI model. Take the time to train it and, learn about prompting. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can use AI to create prompts. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but just more than prompting, train it. So, most of them, they all have memory now, so they remember prior conversations. You can put instructions for it, use that to your advantage, and you'll get way better results from it.
I love it. That's our 4 cent advice
Yeah,
today.
yeah. I don't know how
One
many
on the
cents that was.
One on the personal side, I think that was really helpful, being vulnerable. The second one is basically take advantage of the memory, train it, build your MD files in Claude. That's really useful. Someone was talking to me today, actually, from the team. They said they didn't like Claude because it didn't sound as natural as they were doing in Gemini. And I was like, hey, you've been using Gemini for half a year. It knows
Yeah,
about you. You just started Claude yesterday. Well, no shit, it's
yeah,
not going to know everything yet.
yeah. And you can tell it. You can say, "I want this tone. I want that tone." So play around with it. Like they all kind of do the same thing at the end of the day. It's just how good they are out of the box and how accurate they are when it comes to the more rigorous stuff that really puts one ahead of the other.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening as well. Thank you, our listeners, as well. This was a lot of fun. Pleasure having you, Shail.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks, Charlie.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Making Sense with Charlie.